Revealed, the heartwarming journey of my life-changing fight against YouTube for fairness. In the cozy little town of Maplewood, where children rode bicycles down sun-drenched streets and the smell of fresh apple pie wafted from kitchen windows, Jake stood at the helm of his auto repair shop, a place that pulsed with memories. A relic passed down from his father, every tool and oil stain in the workshop told a story of perseverance. But lately, those stories felt muffled, overshadowed by the gut-wrenching reality of impending financial doom. Jake was a dedicated single father, navigating the choppy waters of raising two kids, Emily and Noah, while trying to keep his family legacy alive. When he uploaded videos showcasing his craftsmanship, the idea was to create a vibrant online community. However, the unexpected demonetization felt like a punch to the gut. "What will we do, Dad?" Noah's innocent eyes faced him, filled with that dull uncertainty. Jake stammered through an explanation about Christmas being different this year, wanting to shield them from his panic. Each word felt like stones in his throat. The echo of their disappointed sighs haunted him at night, wrapping around his heart like a heavy blanket. Jake hardly knew what to do. Bills seemed to pile up like old tires in the corner of the shop. The local news station visited with cameras and questions, turning him into a tragic figure. Just a small-town mechanic, some would murmur, eyes narrowing with judgment. Even within his own community, he felt the sting of scrutiny. Who was he to dream? But at that moment, a flicker of hope ignited in the darkness. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. In the depths of despair, a letter arrived one fateful day. A veteran, struggling with his own darkness, reached out to Jake after watching one of his videos. "Your work reminded me of the beauty in craftsmanship," he wrote, each word a beacon of understanding. As Jake read, tears blurred his vision. This stranger had found solace in his authenticity. The thought reshaped his world. It wasn't about being a small-town mechanic or a failed YouTuber. It was about connection, about the shared human experience, fueled by renewed determination and the support of loyal neighbors rallying around him. Jake realized he could not only reclaim his story. He could teach Emily and Noah that their father's resilience was a powerful inheritance. Just standing up for himself made him feel lighter, like he was finally shedding the weight of other people's perceptions of that night. While Emily and Noah were asleep, Jake found solace in his old toolbox. The tools felt familiar in his hands, connection sparking like a live wire. Could he navigate the digital landscape? Would they find their footing again? As he lay in bed, uncertainty lingered like a shadow, but he could almost feel hope blooming in his chest. Was this the beginning of a fight for their family's future, or would it lead him deeper into despair? Only time would tell, and as dawn approached, the fire in his heart urged him to take the first step. Jake woke up to the soft glow of morning light filtering through the workshop window. The familiar scent of motor oil mixed with the crisp smell of fresh coffee brewed by Emily, who had taken it upon herself to start breakfast. He smiled, feeling the warmth of family envelop him, but a gnawing concern twisted in his stomach. The responsibility of providing for them loomed larger each day. He rushed downstairs, finding Noah still rubbing the sleep from his eyes. "Hey there, champ. Ready to tackle another day?" Jake asked, ruffling Noah's hair. The boy's sleepy grin briefly brightened Jake's heart. As they gathered around the breakfast table, Jake took a moment to appreciate the simple joy in their shared laughter, a melody to his uncertainties. They ate pancakes adorned with syrup in a way that made them taste like treasure. But as he looked into their innocent eyes, he felt a dull ache in his chest. Was it enough? After breakfast, he ventured into the shop. The tools beckoned him like old friends. He pored over the comments from his recent video, each word sparking something in him. People were sharing stories, their own struggles, their own fights. He felt a surge of connection, realizing he'd tapped into a community bigger than himself. What if they could build this momentum? What if he shared not just repair tips, but stories, real stories of heartache and triumph? His heart raced as he brainstormed ideas, the creative energy flooding through him like gas flowing through an engine, but then doubt crept back in. What if they didn't resonate? What if he failed again? Those thoughts attempted to paralyze him, but he shook them off, reminding himself of the letter from the veteran. He started to outline his next video, determined to convey vulnerability, authenticity, and hope. After hours of tinkering with the script, he decided to film right then and there in the workshop. With the light pouring in and the hum of the shop as his background, Jake spoke directly to the camera, sharing his journey openly, his challenges, fears, and the way his children inspired him every day. He spoke from the heart, and for the first time in weeks, he felt a sense of freedom while doing it. However, as the day wound down, the specter of anxiety returned, making sleep elusive. He turned over in bed, wrestling with thoughts of whether this gamble would pay off. Could he really breathe new life into his dreams? What if it all fell apart again? The next morning, armed with a mix of hope and fear, Jake uploaded the video. He nervously engaged with the comments that began to pour in, a mixture of encouragement and shared experiences flooding his notifications. It was exhilarating and terrifying. That evening, at dinner, Emily shared with excitement how her friends were intrigued and eager to watch. "You just keep being you, Dad, and they'll love it," she said, and Jake's heart swelled with pride. But deep down, he grappled with the fear of potential backlash and judgment looming like a dark cloud. As he tucked Noah into bed later that night, the boy asked, "Do you think more people will watch what you make now?" Jake smiled softly, trying to hide the turmoil brewing beneath. "I hope so, buddy. But what's really important is that it's true to me." Noah's eyes sparkled. "Then you'll be just fine, Dad." But would he be? Jake stood alone in the dim light of the shop, the weight of uncertainty pressing down on him. As he gazed at the tools, he couldn't help but wonder if this was merely the calm before the storm. Would the world embrace his truth, or would he find himself swimming against the tide once more? The next morning promised answers, but fear lodged deep within him. Would he rise or fall? The uncertainty lingered, leaving Jake caught between hope and hesitation, ready to face whatever tomorrow would reveal. The sun rose, bathing the workshop in a gentle hue. Jake settled into a groove, the routine of checking messages compelling him to confront his fears head-on. Each notification made his heart beat a little faster. Had anyone replied? Was he alone in his vulnerability? As he scrolled, he felt the rush of support, the kind of warmth you felt when an old friend reached out unexpectedly. Comments poured in from strangers who felt his words resonate. They were sharing their own journeys in the comments: loss, redemption, awakening. It was a beautiful tapestry of struggles and victories threaded together through stories. Each reply felt like another piece of himself connecting with them. "Look at this comment," Jake called out to Emily, who was packing lunches in the kitchen. She peeked into the shop, curiosity written on her face. He read aloud a message from a viewer named Sarah, detailing how Jake's story echoed her own battles and how it gave her hope. "Isn't that amazing?" Emily beamed, nudging Noah, who was rifling through his sports gear. "You never know who needs to hear your truth." Jake couldn't help but smile, but the anxiety tethered to his stomach felt more pronounced. How could this be real? Could he really sustain this support? His fingers hesitated over the keyboard. He knew he had to follow up with more content that connected deeply and perhaps even pushed the boundaries of vulnerability further. But fear whispered that doing so could expose him in ways he wasn't ready for. What if he showed too much? Would the community still stand with him if it got messy? "Dad, can we watch your video again?" Noah's voice cut through the noise in Jake's mind. "Sure, buddy." He mustered a smile, his heart warming at his son's enthusiasm. As they huddled together on the couch, Jake braced himself for the rush of emotions the video stirred. Seeing his own face on the screen, pouring out his heart, was still a strange sight. This wasn't just a video. It felt like a portal to his soul, revealing parts of him that had long been buried. He watched Noah enthralled, hanging onto each word, which made the knot in his stomach loosen. But as the video reached the end, Jake's initial joy dampened, anxiety creeping back. What if they only saw his flaws? The likes felt fragile, a fleeting moment of affirmation. Would his next video evoke the same reaction? Or would it reveal fears that lay hidden even from himself? Later that night, unable to sleep, he replayed the comments in his mind. That's when he saw it. A single comment caught his eye. What's next, Jake? Will you share your biggest failure? That question echoed in his mind like a hammer striking steel. Could he? Should he? The idea of turning failure into a narrative was terrifying, yet it sang to his spirit. This could be at the moment he truly connected. He took a deep breath, wrestling with the notion that his past could be his ticket to transformation. As days went by, encouragement poured in, and with his newfound clarity, Jake began drafting the outline of his next video, naming his failures, his darkest moments. This was more than just a platform, it was about facing demons and owning the narrative. But just when he thought he could embrace it all, an unexpected email arrived, an invitation for a live interview. "They want to feature you," Emily said, excitement sparkling in her eyes. Live? His stomach dropped. What do I even say? It loomed before him like a roller coaster, the thrilling ascent teetering at the edge. Emily nodded, her smile unwavering. Just be you, Jake. They need your truth. Would his truth be enough? The stakes felt higher than ever. As he stared into the screen, a question whispered in the back of his mind. Was he ready to keep unveiling the layers? The journey had just begun, but now he stood at the edge of the abyss, questioning how deep he was willing to dive into the depths of his past. What would the world say to the raw, unfiltered version of Jake? Would it be acceptance or rejection? A new kind of fear gripped him as he began to prepare. Little did he know, what lay ahead would bring revelations that could break the barriers he never realized existed in his heart. Jake lay awake long into the night, the glow of his laptop illuminating the shadows in the room. The thought of the live interviews swirled in his mind like a restless storm. Each idea for what to say came with a tidal wave of anxiety. Would he falter under the weight of expectation? What if he stumbled over his words, exposing the cracks he'd tried so hard to hide? Despite the fear gnawing at him, something deeper tugged at his heart. He imagined standing before an audience, his truths laid bare. The weight of those potential connections filled him with an inexplicable courage. Those faces, eager for honesty, would be like a mirror reflecting his own struggles back at him. Maybe he wouldn't be alone. Dad? Noah's voice broke through the fog of his thoughts. The boy appeared at the doorway, rubbing sleep from his eyes. Can't sleep? Jake gestured for him to come over, and Noah clambered onto the bed. He instinctively wrapped his arms around his son, feeling the warmth and safety of that embrace. Just thinking, buddy. About my video, and the interview. Are you scared? Noah asked, genuine concern etched across his face. Kind of. Jake hesitated, searching for the right words. But I think I want the world to see who I really am, you know? I want to show them that it's okay to be vulnerable. Noah nodded seriously, his small frame bouncing gently as the bed creaked. Then you should do it. You're not alone. You have us. And if you show people your mistakes, maybe they'll feel brave about theirs too. The innocence in his son's words cut through Jake's doubts. The idea that his openness could encourage others blossomed in his heart like spring flowers breaking through the snow. This was bigger than him. I want to keep sharing my story, Noah, Jake whispered, feeling a sense of determination rise. Even if it's scary. Can I help? Noah's eyes sparkled brightly. I'll be your biggest fan. Jake chuckled, the tension in his chest loosening. You already are, champ. He squeezed Noah tighter, their laughter filling the stillness of the night. The next morning dawned fresh and bright. After a restless night, Jake finally settled back into the rhythm of his workshop. The familiar sounds of tools clinking and wood being sanded provided comfort. As he worked, every strike of the hammer and swipe of the saw felt like preparation, a rehearsal for the stage he could build with his words. With each passing hour, Jake felt a pull to articulate his failures in a compelling way. This wasn't just about him anymore, it was about them. He wanted to invite others into his narrative. Through every misstep and setback, he learned invaluable lessons, and sharing those could be the very connection he craved. However, with that clarity also came a daunting task. Crafting a story of failure required vulnerability. What if they judged him? The fear still simmered below the surface. But Jake knew he had to dive in. This wasn't truly about pleasing others, it was about liberation. Hey, Jake, check this out. Emily burst into the shop, interrupting his thoughts. In her hands was a printout of comments from followers, the thread overflowing with encouragement and gratitude. Look how much you've touched people already. You have a community behind you. Reading through the messages ignited a spark inside him. He felt a wave of warmth rush over him, tears pricked at the corners of his eyes. This was what it meant to connect, each word illuminating his path forward. Jake's fingers started tapping excitedly on the keyboard. He had his focus now. As he drafted his thoughts, clarity washed over him. Each word felt like a stepping stone leading to his truth. He was ready to bare his soul, not for approval, but for understanding. Yet, as he wrapped up his outline, his phone buzzed with a fresh notification. A message so unexpected it brought him right back to the edge of uncertainty. I hope you're ready. There are people interested in what you're really hiding. That last line gripped him like a vice. Was there more lurking in the shadows of his past? He glanced at his reflection in the screen and realized the journey was far from over. The live interview was just the beginning. What stories were still waiting to be told? Jake took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his past amalgamate with the hope of his journey ahead. The moment of truth was drawing closer, but what else could he uncover in this battle against vulnerability? Jake stared at the glowing screen, those ominous words echoing in his mind. What could they mean? He felt an unsettling knot form in his stomach, the feeling intensifying as his thoughts spiraled into the unknown. What secrets did he still carry, lurking beneath the surface? He pushed aside the discomfort, focusing on the task at hand. Enough, he muttered, shaking his head. I have a show to prepare for. The adrenaline fueled his fingers as they flew over the keyboard, crafting the story he desperately wanted to share. The hours faded, each moment spent fine-tuning his message. He poured his heart into the narrative, recounting the trials and tribulations that had defined him. As he wrote, the memories flooded back, moments of failure, of self-doubt, the moments when he thought giving up was the only way. The pain no longer felt like a burden, it transformed into a tapestry of resilience. Dad, do you need any help? Noah's voice broke through his focus, and Jake looked up to see him peeking into the workshop. Just getting things ready for tomorrow, Jake replied, a smile tugging at his lips. Maybe you can help me practice? Sure. I'd love to. Noah brightened up, bouncing on his toes. Jake grinned, driven by his son's enthusiasm. Okay, let us do this. You can ask me whatever you want, like the interviewers will. Noah climbed up onto the workbench, taking his role seriously. So, Dad, what made you want to share your story? Jake paused, looking into his son's earnest eyes. Because I want others to know they're not alone. We all mess up. But it's how we respond, how we learn, that really matters. That's cool, Noah said, nodding. Can you talk about the time when you almost quit? Jake's heart sank into his stomach. That was a painful memory, but it was also pivotal. This was the moment he almost let fear win. He took a deep breath. Yeah, I can. I nearly threw in the towel when everything felt too overwhelming. But then I realized I wasn't just fighting for myself. I was fighting for all of us who feel like we have to hide or be ashamed of our mistakes. As he spoke, the truth of those words hit him hard. His journey wasn't just about him, it was a collective battle against the fear of judgment. He had to let for others to rise as well. Wow, Dad, Noah whispered, eyes wide. You're really brave. Jake felt tears prick at the corners of his eyes again. It's not about being brave, Noah. It's about being real. Can you make everyone else feel brave too? Jake paused, contemplating the weight of his son's question. I hope so. I want to show them it's okay to be vulnerable, to embrace their own stories. That's what this is all about. As they continued to practice, Jake felt a shift, his anxiety blending with excitement. Each moment with Noah infused him with a new sense of purpose. This wasn't just an interview, it was a movement. The laughter, the warmth of his son's belief in him, it made all the difference. Later that night, as he lay in bed, a new message pinged on his phone. "We'll see you live on the big day. Are you really ready for what's next?" Anxiety bubbled within him again. What next awaited? Before he drifted off, Jake made a silent promise to embrace every shadow of his past. As he came closer to the big day, there was something deeply significant waiting for him on the other side of vulnerability. He was ready to open the doors and let the world in, but were there old truths that might try to follow him out? Jake closed his eyes, filled with a potent sense of clarity and apprehension. What awaited at dawn? The truth was just on the horizon. Would he be ready to face it? The morning sunlight slanted through the window, a warm glow spilling into Jake's room. He stirred, stretched, and turned his phone over to check the time. The realization hit him today was the day. The day he'd bear it all. His heart raced as he sat up, letting the weight of anticipation settle on his shoulders. After a quick shower, he walked into the kitchen where Noah was munching on cereal, his face a mix of excitement and curiosity. "Dad, are you nervous?" Noah asked, his voice sweet and innocent. "A little," Jake admitted, pouring orange juice into a glass. "But mostly, I'm ready. You'll be great. You're the best storyteller I know." Noah beamed, his confidence infectious. Jake smiled, every cheer from his son sending a jolt of energy through him. They finished breakfast, and as they tidied up, the mood shifted. Jake could feel the gravity of what lay ahead weighing down on him again. He had spent so long building this moment. What if he stumbled? What if people didn't respond the way he hoped? After a quick packing of essentials notes, a spare charger, and his trusty old journal, Jake gathered his courage. They stepped out into the fresh morning air, the world alive around them. The sky was a canvas of vibrant blues and whites, somehow lifting his spirits despite the storm brewing in his chest. Noah chattered away about his plans for the day, blissfully unaware of the internal battle Jake was fighting. "Can I watch the show? Can we make popcorn later?" "Of course, buddy. It will be like our own movie night," Jake replied, ruffling Noah's hair. As they entered the car, silence settled over Jake. He gripped the steering wheel, mind whirling with what-ifs. On the drive, he could feel the familiar words beginning to form a narrative in his mind, just waiting to burst forth. Each intersection passed felt like a physical barrier he was pushing through, drawing closer to what felt like the edge of a cliff. When they arrived at the studio, Jake's palms were sweaty as he parked. He took a deep breath, looking at Noah. "I want you to remember something, okay? No matter what happens today, I've already won by being brave enough to speak." Noah nodded seriously, his eyes wide. "You're doing this for all of us, right?" "Exactly." As they walked inside, the bustling energy around them was electric. A team of producers and crew members flitted through the hallway, and laughter echoed from the set beyond. Jake's heart thudded in his chest, fear and excitement colliding within him. Just before stepping on set, he spotted a familiar face, his old mentor, Sarah. She had believed in him when even he struggled to believe in himself. "Hi, Jake," she greeted, her warm smile a balm to his nerves. "Ready for today?" "I think so. I hope so," he replied, tensing for a moment. "You've got this. Remember, it's about connection, not perfection." Her words washed over him, grounding him. "Thanks, I needed that," he said, feeling a glimmer of confidence returning. Moments later, the producers signaled that it was showtime. Jake took a deep breath and stepped onto the stage. The lights shone bright, the audience waiting, eyes on him. He stood there, microphone in hand, a sea of faces staring back. He could almost hear the silent heartbeat of the crowd. This was it. This was the moment where he would open his heart and lay everything bare. As the first words formed on his lips, Jake thought of Noah, of everyone who had walked imperfectly alongside him. But when he finally began to speak, the unexpected happened. A voice rang out from the audience, slicing through his thoughts. "Are you sure you want to do this?" It was a voice he recognized, one that sent a chill straight through him. Jake's heart stopped, and he froze, uncertainty washing over him. Who was daring to question him now? Did they know something he didn't? The stage lights dimmed, and for a moment, it felt like the past had come to disrupt the present. Jake's chest tightened. What was next? In that breathless silence, it felt like everything was about to unravel. Would he stand his ground, or would he let the shadows of his past drag him down? Jake's mind raced, grappling with the familiar voice that echoed in his ears. A face he hadn't seen in years came to life, an image overshadowed by time and memory. It was Josh, an old colleague from his past who had been a fleeting shadow in his life, but one that loomed large with regret. Josh? The name slipped out before he could stop himself, and the audience murmured in surprise. Jake's breath hitched, as curiosity swelled in the crowd. Beneath the bright stage lights, the distance between them seemed like a chasm between their past and present, between who he had been and who he had become. Yes, Jake, it's me, Josh said, his tone smooth but edged with defiance. Are you really ready to expose yourself in front of all these people? After everything that happened? The air thickened. Jake felt Noah's gaze burning into his side, a mix of confusion and concern. He turned slightly to catch his son's eyes, a silent plea for strength. Josh, this isn't about you, Jake replied, his voice steadier than he felt. It's about authenticity. It's about sharing my story, my truth. Your truth or a convenient narrative? Josh shot back, a smirk pulling at the corners of his mouth. The audience's energy shifted, tension mounting as they buzzed with intrigue. Jake took a moment to breathe, anchoring himself. Memories of all the struggles, the doubts and despair flooded back. Each misstep replayed in his mind like old news footage, reminding him of the times he had almost given up. But today was different. He was no longer a prisoner of his fears. Today, he was ready to be free. Look, Josh, I get that you have your opinions, Jake said, forcing a smile despite the trembling of his heart. You were part of that chaotic chapter of my life, but I've worked hard to find my voice. And this moment? It's for me and for my son. To show him that it's okay to be vulnerable. To fight for what's right. The audience reacted. Some people leaned forward, captivated, while others shared sidelong glances. Jake could feel the tide shifting, solidarity building behind him. He glanced at Noah again, the boy's face was lit with admiration. With renewed courage, Jake straightened his back, holding the mic closer. I choose to speak my truth, imperfections and all. We all have scars, we've all fought battles. If I can inspire just one person, let them know they're not alone, that's worth the risk. A wave of applause erupted from the audience, each clap a heartbeat synchronizing with Jake's resolve. Even Josh looked momentarily taken aback, the confidence in Jake's words momentarily quieting his challenge. Jake glanced around the stage, seeing the faces of encouragement, Sarah's nodding approval, friends who had come to support him. The room filled with warmth, igniting a spark of determination within him. Life's not about being perfect. It's about growth. It's about resilience, Jake continued, passion fueling his voice. I've made mistakes. But those mistakes don't define who I am. And they don't define who you are either. As he spoke, he could see the audience visibly soften, their expressions shifting from skepticism to understanding. Jake felt lighter, buoyed by the connection forming in that space. Are you with me? He asked, his heart pounding in anticipation. Yes. Someone shouted from the back, setting off a ripple of cheers. The energy in the room ignited, illuminating the dark corners of doubt and fear that had lingered too long. Jake took a deep breath as he dove deeper into his story, the adrenaline fueling his desire to connect and share. And just as he began to feel himself soaring, another voice rose up, slicing through the warmth once again. Do you really think you're ready for whatever comes next? Jake's stomach dropped. The voice was unmistakable. It was someone from his past he had fought desperately to forget, someone who could threaten everything. With a deep breath, Jake prepared to confront those shadows once again, awareness dawning that the journey of unveiling his heart was only just beginning. Was he truly ready to face what lay ahead? Jake's heart raced as he scanned the crowd for the source of the piercing voice. The familiarity of it struck him like a physical blow. It belonged to Mark, another figure from his past whose presence reminded him of darker times he had worked so hard to escape. He hadn't thought he'd ever have to deal with Mark again, not in this setting. Mark, Jake breathed, bracing himself for a curveball. The audience held their breath, eyes darting between the two men. Josh, still armed with his cynical grin, looked amused by the unfolding drama. "What do you want, Mark?" Jake asked, striving for steadiness. Noah's concern deepened, and Jake could feel his son's anxiety ripple through the air. "I want you to answer the question," Mark shot back, his expression sharp and unwavering. "Do you think you're ready to handle the fallout? To deal with the truth? You pretend to be a new man here, but that doesn't erase the history." Jake felt his resolve falter just enough to ignite a fresh wave of anxiety. Memories flashed, late nights spent arguing about policy, the frustration of battling unfair treatment online. He had put a lot on the line to be here, and he wouldn't let Mark derail him. "Everyone has a past," Jake replied, his voice gaining strength again. "You included. That's precisely why I'm here, to show that we can grow beyond our mistakes." The audience seemed captivated, the tension intertwining with thoughtful silence. A few nodded, others whispered to each other. Noah's eyes shone with pride, shining light into Jake's increasingly dark thoughts. "But who are you really, Jake?" Mark pressed, clearly enjoying the chance to expose what he considered cracks in Jake's polished exterior. "Are you the man you claim to be? Or just another online persona?" Jake inhaled deeply, finding something solid within himself. This was the moment. "I'm a father," he stated, letting the words sink in. "I'm a man who has fought tooth and nail to overcome my demons. I'm someone who believes in fairness, in authenticity, that we can learn and be better." "Yes, but what about the hypocrisy of it all?" Mark challenged, leaning into the audience, his arms wide, drawing them in. "What happens when you fail again? When you slip back into those old patterns?" A hush fell over the crowd. Jake could feel them waiting, caught between judgment and empathy. He turned to Noah, who gave him a nod of encouragement, a quiet reminder of why he was here. "I may stumble. I may fail. But I have learned so much," Jake asserted, the weight of the moment settling on his shoulders. "And when I do, I want to do it in silence. I will come back and share that story too." He met Mark's gaze, unwavering now. "Because that's what it means to be human. To accept every piece of us, even the broken parts. We're all flawed, but we can still stand tall." The crowd erupted in applause, a wave of energy crashing over him as he spoke from the heart. Jake felt powerful, free, and shockingly vulnerable all at once. For once, he was not afraid of the truth. He was ready to embrace it. "Isn't being real worth it?" Jake called out to the audience, his voice echoing warmly through the room. Their cheers drowned out his fears, unity pulsing in the air. But beneath the applause, he noticed Josh's eyes glinting with mischief, and Mark's smirk suggested he wasn't finished yet. "Just remember, Jake," Mark called back with narrowed eyes, "not everyone will give you a second chance. Some battles can leave scars that never fade." Jake's heart twisted, the reality of Mark's words sinking in. He had come so far, yet a part of him knew that this journey would not end here. As cheers faded into the background, one question lingered in his mind: could he truly protect his renewed self from the shadows of his past? As the applause faded, Jake felt an adrenaline rush course through him, the energy of the crowd mingling with his inner turmoil. It was a moment that should have filled him with proud accomplishment, but Mark's words echoed relentlessly in his mind, weights pulling down on his heart. Scars that never fade, could they remain as reminders of past failures? He glanced at Noah, who stood with wide eyes. There was a flicker of fear there, mixed with admiration. Jake wanted nothing more than to reassure him, but he could feel Mark's presence lurking like a storm cloud, threatening to rain on his newfound confidence. "I need to talk to you," Jake whispered to Noah, hoping to distract him from the tension in the air as they stepped away from the crowd. "Dad, are you okay?" Noah stepped closer, concern knitting his brow as he took Jake's hand, squeezing it tightly. "I will be," Jake assured him with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "But you need to know that we can't let the past control us. I've fought too hard to be here." Noah hesitated, searching his father's face for honesty. What if Mark's right? What if people only see our past? What if they don't believe in the change? Jake felt the weight of his son's doubts, churning like a storm inside him. Noah, everyone has scars. But it's how we carry them that matters. They can lead us to empathy, to understanding others. Empathy? Noah echoed, his voice trembling slightly. Is that enough? Most times, it is, Jake answered, gently resting his hand on Noah's shoulder. It's what allows us to connect, to heal. As they stood together, the crowd's cheers began to fade, and Jake could taste a different kind of challenge gathering on the horizon. He returned his gaze to where Mark had retreated among the audience members, a ghost of a smirk still hanging on his lips. Mark wasn't he done? To shift the atmosphere, Jake stepped back to the center of the stage, taking a steadying breath as he felt the pulse of more questions lingering. What about the journey we're all on? He asked the crowd, voice clear. What about the moments that have led us to this point? A few familiar faces in the audience nodded, and it reignited his courage. Instead of letting fear dictate our stories, we can choose to share them. We can show the world that it's okay to fall. It's okay to fail, and even more important, it's okay to rise again. Jake could see Josh's posture shift, the smile fading as he listened intently. This wasn't just a moment of testimony, it was a challenge. A call to all who had gathered here. How can we support each other, if we avoid the uncomfortable truth? Jake continued, feeling the fire building within him. Together, we can turn those painful chapters into lessons that fuel growth. The tension that had gripped the audience began to shatter, sparks of comprehension shifting the morale. He spotted a few heads nodding, some murmuring words of agreement, but even in this moment of connection, Jake could not shake the sense that the battle was far from over. He noticed Mark's posture had changed too, arms crossed and lips tight, his demeanor suggesting he would not let this lie unchallenged. Jake turned back to the crowd and plunged deeper. I need every one of you to consider this. What stories are you hiding? What truths have you been afraid to face? A slight stir moved through the crowd, and he could sense the awakening of uncomfortable realizations, shadows creeping in. But as Jake spoke, he felt the air shift, apprehension tightening around him once more. Confrontation with Mark loomed ahead, and the road to healing was never straight. How can we prepare for a future when our past threatens to define us? He demanded, urgency creeping into his voice. The audience shifted, murmurs buzzing, and Jake could see their eyes focusing on Mark, realizing he wasn't just a voice from the past. He was a challenge, one that may force Jake to confront that which was left unsaid. And as the atmosphere bristled with tension, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that everything was spiraling toward a shocking reunion of unanswered questions. Would he find resolution, or would the remnants of his past threaten to overshadow everything he had built? The real journey, it seemed, was only just beginning. As the echoes of Jake's words hung in the air, the atmosphere sharpened, emotions swirling about like clouds before a storm. He could feel the weight of every soul in the audience, their hopes and fears merging with his own. In that moment of impassioned vulnerability, he connected with a deep human experience, a truth shared in silence. Jake Mark's voice cut through again, dripping with skepticism. How long before you revert back to who you once were? It's easy to stand here and preach. But will you stick around when the going gets tough? Mark, that's just it. The tough times show us who we really are, Jake retorted with newfound strength, fully entrenched in his battle. I don't expect to be perfect. I don't expect that everyone will believe in my transformation. But I have to believe it for myself first. Josh and Mark exchanged glances, unsure how to counteract the heartfelt truths pouring from Jake's soul. The audience began to lean in, captivated, drawn by the raw honesty of his conviction. Jake continued, the journey is not about forgetting the past, it's about integrating it into our story. We can't move forward unless we address where we've been. By being real, we inspire others to do the same. For the first time, he felt as if he were wielding words as tools, each one directed toward healing for both himself and any listener resonating with his pain. Who among you has scars that you hide? Jake posed, raising his hand. The energy flowed through the crowd, and several hands went up. Let us talk about those. Every scar tells a story, one of survival, perseverance, and strength. We need to lift each other up, support each other in our battles. That's how transformation happens together. The applause erupted once more, and he felt their encouragement bolstering his resolve. It lit a fire in him, one that had flickered for too long. Mark's expression hardened again, but this time it lacked conviction. You can't just expect everyone to understand. People are cruel. You'll face backlash. You'll be exposed. I might, Jake admitted, a soft determination settling over him. But that won't stop me. I won't let it stop me. I've lived too long in silence and shame. My children deserve to know that it's okay to rise after you stumble. It's okay to own your failures, to lean into vulnerability. And I want everyone out there to remember that they, too, have the strength to transform. Noah was on his feet, and the sound of his passionate cheer echoed through the venue. You can do this, Dad. He beamed with pride, his voice ringing clear and true like a bell. Jake glanced down at him, and suddenly time stretched, revealing a clarity he'd never felt before. This wasn't just about him. This moment reached far beyond his own battles. This was about family, about community, about standing together in unity. And if someone is cruel? If they try to pull us down? Jake looked from Mark back to the audience. We rise together. We lift each other. We build from those moments of darkness and emerge brighter. Cheers erupted anew, filling Jake's heart with joy. He felt elevated, not just by the crowd, but by a growing realization that he was far more than a small-town mechanic or a struggling YouTuber. He was a father, a storyteller, a beacon of hope for those ready to embrace their truth. As the applause continued, Jake looked around the room, soaking in the sea of supportive faces. Each pair of eyes gleamed with empathy and understanding. For every person who grasped his words, another piece clicked into place within him. Together, we can show the world that choosing authenticity means welcoming connection. Choosing to be vulnerable allows us to grow. Yes, there may be backlash. But what is life if we don't take risks? What is existence if we don't support one another? In that crescendo, Jake felt a lightness, like the fog lifting. Each doubt from his past fluttered away like fallen leaves in the wind, revealing the bright sky ahead. As the final cheer died down, a profound calm settled over him, a sense of closure. The battle had been hard. The fight was real. But here, in this moment, he understood, embracing his failures and stories would guide not only his path but the paths of many. Let us keep talking. Let us keep healing. Let us embrace our fractures, and together rise triumphantly. Thank you for letting me share my heart today. Jake concluded, genuine emotion spilling forth. The warmth of the audience enveloped him like a warm hug. Though the voice of Mark briefly pierced the moment, it didn't drown out the chorus of hope alive in that space. He finally turned, gaze steady as he faced the people who believed in the transformation he was creating, starting with himself. The crowd erupted in applause and shouts, and for Jake, the shadows that had once haunted him no longer prevailed. From that day forward, as he stepped off that stage, he knew he had emerged stronger, not only as a father but as a man willing to share his journey. He wasn't perfect, but he was whole, no longer afraid to embrace all the fractured pieces that made him uniquely Jake. And with a heart full of gratitude and renewed energy, he stepped forward into an inspiring future that lay ahead, ready to face it all, hand in hand with his children and the community he now cherished dearly. And now more than ever, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment your reactions and feelings about this incredible journey and transformation. And please, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear this message. Don't wait not even one more second. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Let's keep the momentum going.